And that was the only thing I was, well, I thought, well, the next time I talk to you, I'm just, whether you were aware that that was the way you were coming over.
I'm just trying to be real. I mean, I'm in my old age. I've just seen how people behave. I see how things get funded. Now, of course, Elon plus one or two other, that's all it would take, one or two other very wealthy people in the world could, if they wanted, as basically a vanity project, send astronauts to Mars. But if you want to think of the return on that investment, SpaceX is a corporation. All right, it's not just some private venture. He's getting money and contracts, and he's paying salaries, and I presume there's a board helping him make decisions about that. And so, in the real world, there's certain things that are more likely to happen than others.
But if you but let me push you on that. But let me challenge you on that. So let's go back to the start of the 20th century, okay? When there would have been people around who were saying, you know what, let's go to the moon. And people would have dismissed them and said, don't be so ridiculous. It's massively, prohibitively expensive. We don't really have the technology to do this, blah, 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 blah. It was only really the power of people's dreams. Now, ultimately, you're right. There was a military context to why we did it. The West wanted to beat Russia up there. I get that. I get that. But at the same time, I remember the great speeches by Kennedy, about all this. And it was exciting. It was thrilling. The world watched as Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon. And those dreams that were dismissed at the early part of the century actually came true. They happened. Could it be that you're just... I hesitate to say this, Neil, but could it be you're just, you're one of the doomsayers of the earlier 20th century saying we should never go to the moon because it's too expensive, it can't happen, blah, 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 which they must have been saying at the time.
I am way more deeply informed than your previous sentence implies. So a couple of things. Going up to the launch of Sputnik, most naysayers about the moon had no confidence that we would ever accomplish such a feat. And they didn't have an understanding of the progress of science and technology and engineering and political will, geopolitical will. So that was not in the equation of how they were thinking about their future. And so now when Sputnik got launched, what happened? Oh my gosh, space was pierced. And if it's pierced, that means we can do anything in space. And beginning in the early 1960s, the predictions about the future flipped. And it wasn't, oh, we'll never do it. They'll say, we'll do it all. And that's why we'll have colonies on Mars. Do you know Wernher von Braun was even quoted as saying, by the year 2000, we'll have the first human born on a moon colony. So highly ambitious statements, but why didn't any of that happen? Because we didn't go to the moon because it was because it's in our DNA, or it's because, no, we went because we were scared. And the speech you remember from John Kennedy, where he says, we'll put a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth, that's a stirring speech. And the hair rises up on the back of your neck.